Hi, everybody. This is Cindy Curran here from Enlightenment Now. Today I am going to do an interview with my good friend Sharon Tanner, who is a recovering alcoholic. I asked Sharon to do this interview with me because she's had some very tough times in life, but yet she seemed to have gotten through it without a hard heart, with forgiveness of people who have hurt her, and still be able to love after all she's been through. So I thought it was important for my fans and my audience to hear her story. So I want to welcome you, Sharon, in agreeing to do this. I know it can be a very painful experience that you have been through. So my first question to you, Sharon, is just give the fans out there a little bit of your background, your little bit of a family history.
Well, I was the oldest of 3 children. I have a brother and a sister that are younger, and my father was always taking things out on me. He never hit them, but he would hit me. But in the end, I forgave him before he died, so it all worked out for the best because it freed me from those hard feelings, and it was only hurting myself not to forgive him. And then my mother would just stand there and let it carry on, and when I asked her why she just stood there and let it go on, she said, well, that's just the way it was back in those days. So I had to drop that and forgive her too. And they both passed away now, and everything's done and over with that, so I just go on from here. But it's been a rough trip, let me tell you.
Can I ask you, did your mom say that to you when you were a child, or was it later on in the recovery in the thing? Yeah, back in the day, whatever the husband did,
it was
unfortunately.
Okay.
Now, is there a history of alcoholism in your family?
Well, my great-grandfather had a still. He sold it to the Canadians.
Oh.
And my great-grandmother was a tester, and she kind of went out of her mind from testing his white lightning or whatever the heck he was making. But then my grandparents on either side, my mother's or my father's, I don't think they really drank anything but socially.
Yep.
Going through counseling different times, they told me my father was a dry alcoholic, and that's why he had a hard time. He would go from one extreme to the other.
So what do you mean by dry alcoholic?
I didn't really understand that either, and it's when they want to drink, but they can't, or they won't, because my mother was very demanding, and she was the one that whatever she said, he did. So he didn't drink until I was like a teenager. Then they started playing cards and stuff, and he would have a couple of cocktails, but that's all they would have. And I was going out. I was 16 years old, and I was going out with a 21-year-old that I fell madly in love with.
Oh, yeah.
And then he went in the service, and I kind of lost it then. When I get in a relationship and then it ends, either I end it or they end it, I seem to go crazy. But I'm a little crazy anyway.
When you drink, you mean you go crazy?
No, even when I don't.
Oh, even when you don't. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm bipolar to top it off, too.
Oh,
so
okay.
I go from one extreme to another sometimes, and I try to take my medications right so that doesn't happen. But yesterday was one of my manic days where
I'm just going to stop you only because I want to keep this focus on the alcoholism.
All right.
Now, were you using alcoholism as a way to escape?
Yes. So I didn't have to think about things. But of course, when you come back from being in a blackout and you don't remember what happened or what you said to anybody or what you did, it's very sad because you can't remember. I got to be, as time went by, I got to be a mean alcoholic, and I was in blackouts constantly.
Okay, so that was one of my questions. How did being an alcoholic change your life? How did it affect your life? Affect your life? And what was the rock bottom? What was the catalyst to say, okay, I have a problem right now. what. First, before we get into that, though, I'd like you to explain in short, what is alcoholism? Like, I've read that, somebody can have 10 drinks and not be an alcoholic, and somebody else can have 2 drinks and be an alcoholic. So, do you know the definition?
It's something to do with the brain chemistry.
Okay.
And it's like uncontrollable at times. You have to, it's like a lifelong battle that you have to not drink. And if you drink to the excess and lose yourself, then you're definitely an alcoholic.
Yeah. So what was, if it's not too personal, what was your rock bottom where you said, okay, I can't do this anymore. This isn't the direction I want my life to go in.
That only happened recently because I was going to lose my housing and I'd be out on the streets, and I was so sick from drinking every day. I was just to the point of an everyday drinker, and it made me deathly sick, and then I should have gone to the hospital to get over the DTs, but I stayed home and struggled through it, which I would not recommend to anybody because you can go into seizures and all kinds of things can happen to you.
Sure. But what about back years ago when you first decided to seek help?
Years ago?
When you hit that rock bottom and you decided to, what Sharon is talking about, she slipped off the wagon. She was doing really good and she fell off the wagon. I guess the term is what they call it. So she had a little episode, but she's recently got back on the wagon. She's doing great, and I'm very proud of her for doing that. But back years ago, you told me you went to Alcoholics Anonymous. So, so were you forced to? Was it something happened at the court? So you went on your own. So what was your rock bottom then?
I was just sick of losing everything in my life, myself. I was losing myself, and I wasn't doing good things that count. Like, I like doing all kinds of different things. I'll try anything at least once. And I just wanted my life back instead of this empty shell of a person that I had become. And through AA, I was meeting a lot of different people, and I was doing okay with it. But then I started not to like AA because.
Okay, so we're gonna go in order here.
Okay.
Okay. So you went to AA because it wasn't working out for you. This path of alcoholism was not working out for you. What was the point that you said, I am an alcoholic, I have to do something about this?
Oh, that was...
Is it too long ago? Do you remember?
That's going back to about probably 20 years ago.
Okay, all right. So how did you come across finding AA 20 years ago? Did you read about it? Did somebody recommend it? Did you do research? We didn't have computers. We couldn't Google that stuff, back then. So how was it that you came about to AA? And were there other options for you and you just decided to go with AA? Or how did that work for you?
I'm trying to remember because it was that long ago and I got brain damage, I think. I'm not sure. But it was... I found out about AA because I went for some counseling.
Okay.
And the counselor said I should try AA meetings.
Oh, okay.
So that's how it really started.
And that's how... Are there other options besides AA? Do you know? If you don't know, that's fine. But I was just curious if there's another option.
Yeah, there's NA. Because alcohol is a drug as well as your cocaine or your whatever. It's all drugs. Alcohol is just accepted because it's legal.
Oh, okay, yeah. And it's just as dangerous as drugs from what I'm gathering. Now, NA, that's Narcotics Anonymous? Is that what that is? Okay, just making sure. So you go to an AA. Do you remember your first experience when you walked into AA? I mean, were you nervous? Were you like, maybe I shouldn't do this? I don't fit in? Was it scary to go into that meeting?
It was really scary. Okay. It really was. And if you do have somebody that you can use for support, I would suggest that. It makes it a little easier to walk in those doors because the meetings can be really big sometimes and it can be overwhelming and scary. And then when they go around, there's all different types of meetings. Some where you talk. Oops.
No, it's still on.
Oh, some where you
on.
talk, and others where you read from the big book or the traditions, and you have to speak up if you want to get better. You can't just sit there and not participate. But there's an awful lot to AA that you can get involved with.
So you found a lot of support at AA. How was Alcoholics Anonymous?
Yeah.
That's not a word. Anonymous. How did that support you in a way that your family and friends couldn't support you?
Because they understood me, because they're alcoholics too. Mm-hmm. And like anything else, if you haven't been there, then you don't really understand it. No matter what it is in life, not just alcoholism, but other aspects of life too.
Right. So, and from my understanding, Alcoholic Anonymous, if you wanted to, you can have a mentor. Is that true? Or do they automatically assign you one, or you get to choose the person? How does that work?
You choose the person. You go to meetings and listen to different people speak, and then something just attracts you to that person, and you think you're going to be comfortable with that person. Then you have to go over and ask that person to be your sponsor, which can be a hard thing to do. But I don't have a sponsor right now. But I'm going to a counselor too, and she said to get myself a sponsor as quickly as possible. So I'm going to different meetings and hunting around for a sponsor.
Oh, good for you. And if it's not too personal to ask, from the alcoholism, because it's been how many years would you say that you've struggled with this?
Oh, probably all my life, because when I was a baby, they used to rub my gums with whiskey.
Oh yes.
And then when I had asthma, and my father used to make me something they called Boilermakers, and it would stop the wheezing and the asthma, but it would also knock me out, so they didn't have to contend with me.
I know, and I've read that, back in the day, I think even the 50s, I think even the 60s, early 60s, they would give babies cocaine for their, for when they were teething.
Right.
So, and that's how Coca-Cola, the soda, got its name, because it actually had Coke in it.
That's right.
So babies were. It's no wonder so many people have trouble with alcoholism today. It's absolutely crazy. So you've been it for a while. Oh, well, a long while. And
yes.
How has that affected your health?
Oh my God. It got so bad that it destroyed me. I couldn't function. I couldn't eat. I wasn't sleeping. I was up and down constantly, and I was just shaking all over.
Yeah.
I could not stop the shakes, and that lasted for 3 days, and it was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I thought I wasn't going to make it. I thought, this is it.
Yeah.
You're going to die from alcoholism,
Yeah.
which is what it leads to.
Yeah.
Either you end up in prison, you end up in, or you end up in the hospital, or you end up dead. That's the 3 choices you get when you can't stop and do something about your alcoholism.
Yeah, so it's best to go find help and stuff like that. And now, some people who don't have the alcoholism, they don't really understand. But doctors, experts, whoever they are saying that alcoholism is a disease. So can you go a little bit into that? Because some people say it's not a disease, it's a choice. But I know other people who've had issues with drugs, and they didn't do it to become a drug addict. So I know there's a little bit of denial. But if you can just comment on that, if you can.
You don't want to believe that you have this disease. And at first I said, oh no, it's just I don't have enough willpower. But it doesn't have to do with willpower. It's so many different aspects to it that it would take me a long time to explain them all.
Well, one of the things is the chemicals in your body that you were saying earlier. That like one person can have 10 drinks and not be an alcoholic. Somebody else can be 2 drinks and they are an alcoholic.
You're an alcoholic.
So does have something to do with body chemistry too, I think.
But an alcoholic can't have just one. If I pick up one, I'm not going to stop. I'll be running to the liquor store to get more.
Yeah.
If I just had one, that would set me right off, and I'd be right down the wrong path again.
That's what I heard. Somebody can be sober for 20 years, have one drink, and then all of a sudden be an alcoholic. I know David Cassidy from the 70s, whoever grew up in the 70s, David Cassidy was the teen heartthrob. He was bigger than Justin Bieber is right now, and didn't drink, and then when he was in his 60s, late 50s, 60s, whatever it was, he took a drink, and he's been having alcohol problems and had DUIs 3 times, and he lost his home. It really has affected his life after being his marriage broke up, so after being very successful. So it is a terrible thing to deal with. So my next question to you, Sharon, is have you read any books? Is there anything outside of AA that you have done on your own to help you stay sober, whether it be books, reading material,
there's all kinds of books, self-help books out there, and I read a few of them.
Okay.
But just recently, a friend of mine gave me a book that's just for women, and they do have groups that are just for women, no men.
Okay.
And they have men's groups just for men, so you can go. I like a mixture of the men and women, to be honest with you, because men have their issues and women have their issues. Sometimes you don't want to talk about certain issues in front of men, so you should go to a woman's group.
Yeah.
But
do you remember the name of the book?
Oh God, I can't think of it right now. Woman's Way or something like that.
Well, after we're done with the video, I'll get that information for you guys who are watching, in case you decide to get that book or other books like it. I'll find that information for you. And in closing, let me say, a drama. Has it caused a lot of drama in your life?
Oh my God, yeah.
Dumb question?
Yes. No, there's no such thing as a dumb question.
Okay.
That's how I feel about things. How are you going to learn if you don't ask questions?
Right.
So, drama. Oh my dear God. It was horrific.
Can you give an example without,
I'll give an example of
Yes.
a guy that I had living with me for a few years, about 7 years.
Okay.
And I thought I was madly in love. But because of the abuse from my father, I thought that's all I was worth, was to be with a man like that. And it took me many years to find out that wasn't true. But he was very abusive mentally, physically, emotionally.
Yeah.
And it just did a number on me. So I haven't had a relationship in, God, at least 8 years, maybe longer. Because I just don't have the trust anymore.
Yeah,
it ruined it.
It's tough, and that's part of my last video when I talk about we are taught a certain way by our peers, first by our families, our peers, society. They say this is how you're supposed to behave, and it's not uncommon that somebody who's been abused will grow up to be with an abused partner because they don't know any other way. So, and they think that behavior is normal. I certainly know people who are in those situations, and my heart goes out to them. You can't tell them differently. They might get rid of one partner and get another partner that they might think is better, turns out the same, so they keep making the same mistake. They don't understand why, and I'll get into another video on how we can let go of that. But it basically is letting go of who we were taught to be to become who we really are. In closing, I would like to know, and like I said, Sharon, in the beginning of the video, you've been through all this pain. I mean, unimaginable pain. it's impossible to get into it all, but yet you have found forgiveness in your heart, and you say, well, maybe you can't trust men, but you find friends, you certainly have a big heart for animals, you have a big heart, for your neighbors. Sharon's my neighbor, so I've known her for quite a few years, and I've only known her to be a loving, kind person. And how did you get to that place that you were able to let go of who you were taught to be, if you will, and find that place? So the men you're still working on, but in general, that, because I know people who have alcohol problems, who have drug problems, who are older, and they have such bitterness in their heart. They blame everybody for their problems, and they're just full of hate. And you have somehow transcended that. So I don't know if that's something that you have given thought to or not, or if you have any comments on that.
To me, it's like looking for an excuse to drink. When you get to that point.
Oh, okay.
Where you're so bitter and nothing is right, and you're just so angry with the whole world. Mm. And I have a friend that I went to high school with, and she's always told me, you're a strong woman, you can handle this. And after a while, I got sick of hearing it and told her to please shut up, I wasn't that strong. But it is a hard situation, and to finally stop and say, look, I want a good life for myself. I want what's best for me. I love me, because you have to love yourself before you can help anybody else or love anybody else.
That's right. Great story. So you were able to forgive those people and release them, so they don't have control over your life anymore. So, and that's how Sharon was able to convert her pain into healing, and it's a process. It's still going on. That's my cats back there playing with the backdrop. So don't mind them. Don't mind the cats behind the curtain. Okay, so I keep looking down, just so my audience knows. I keep looking down because I have some questions that I wanted to ask her. I wanted to make sure that I got those questions in. And that's why I keep looking down. Also, I want to comment, at a point we went, oops, because we lost the screen. My computer shut off. So Sharon didn't know that it was still recording. And I don't know how to edit, so I can't edit this stuff out yet. But eventually I'll get better at that. So in closing, I certainly want to thank you for sharing your personal story. And hopefully this will help people who watch it, people who know about drug addicts. This is one question. I said we were going to close, but I do have one more question, and that is people who have loved ones who are alcohol. Is alcohol addiction and drug addiction the same, or is there a difference? Because my question would be, how do people who have loved ones support the person who has an alcohol problem, or is it best just to back off until they're ready? How does that? What is your opinion on that?
Well, you do need the strength of loved ones around you, but you don't always get that because you've put them through so much pain that sometimes there's no repairing it. You do go and apologize for what you have done to them. That's very important to do. Yeah. But I'm trying to think now. My brain is racing at the moment. But the thing is, you have to let the person decide for themselves that that's what they want. That in the fighting and the trying to push them to go to meetings, whether NA or AA or whatever, or counseling, it has to be that individual's decision to do it, and you cannot make it for them. So if you're in that kind of situation and you just can't take it anymore, then it's time to get out of the situation and move on with your life. Yeah. Whoever's sober and straight.
there was a loved one in my life too. They'd get really ticked at me if I said who it was, so I won't. But who also had a drug problem, and that's what I had to do. I had to back off because it was just to a point that she was bringing me down. And I probably did. I didn't. This was years and years ago, and I didn't have that education on how to handle that. I would try, hey, you need help, do something, or you only have an addiction because you want an addiction, and you can stop anytime you want. Not understanding what an alcoholic goes through, and it's not that easy. Just stop. It is a process. And if anybody who's been on a diet, a food diet, and you want to lose weight, and then you cheat, and then it's like, no, I don't want, I'm getting too heavy, I gotta start eating healthy, and you cheat, and then you go back, so it is a process. So I don't want anybody out there who's going through this problem or this issue to give up. So in closing, for real this time, do you have any final last words for people who are struggling with addiction, or or for those loved ones who have people? Well, I guess you pretty much answered it as far as, don't push them.
Right.
And but is there any closing words?
Don't give up hope. Always have that hope that things can get better. That's speaking for drug addicts, alcoholics. It's all the same to me, because they're all...
Yeah, that's what I would think.
It doesn't matter what meetings you go to or whatever, but find some support in your life and get on with your life, because you'll have so much more to look forward to, and you can actually be happy. You don't have to be depressed and miserable. You can actually be happy with yourself. Find inner peace.
All right. Well said. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Sharon. That will be it for today. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to it. And that way it will come right to your email box. Again, thank you for watching. May you live long and prosperous. And Cindy out.